Now I'm so pleased to welcome our next speaker, who, if you can believe it, is a native son of Lowell, Massachusetts. Mark DeSaulnier was elected to Congress in 2014 and is currently serving his first term representing the 11th District of California. He is a member of the Committee on Oversight and Government Reform and the Committee on Education and Workforce. After completing his bachelor's degree at Holy Cross, Mike had a self-described Jack Kerouac moment, as those of us from Lowell sometimes do, and drove across the country on a whim. What was intended to be a short-lived venture on the West Coast ended up marking the beginning of a successful career as a California businessman and legislator. Mark was a small business owner for most of his career, owning and operating several successful restaurants in California's Bay Area. Californians are fortunate to have Mark representing them in Congress. I'm glad I didn't have to run against him in Lowell, Massachusetts. But today we can welcome him as one of our own. Please join me in welcoming Congressman Mark DeSaulnier.
I must say this is weird. I have a couple staff members who are here. My chief of staff, Betsy Mark, and Sarah Jackson is from Wilmington, Massachusetts, but are ledge aides. So I have my moments where I affect my old Boston accent, which is largely gone. It's a little strange to be in California and speak in front of people, and every once in a while drop an "ah," and the whole room goes, "What the hell happened?" But I'm appreciative to be here. It's a wonderful, obvious honor to be in Congress, and I must admit, standing here speaking with the Massachusetts delegation, which the high point of my first year was I had to quote the Washington Post, and Betsy's such a good communicator. She got them to change it, but they identified me after the quote as D. Massachusetts. And then I said, "This is great." Betsy had already corrected them, so it didn't get the print part, but I wanted it. I went down to Mr. Capiano and I showed him the electronic thing. I said, "What do I get? I'm a member of the delegation." He goes, "You have to blankety blank pay for dinner." So anyways, it does bring back memories. I'm old enough, although I'm a freshman, to reflect on, as we all do at a certain point in our lives, reflect on our life's journey and what might have been, what might have happened. I remember my family were members of the Vesper Country Club. I'm sure this with Nikki, when Paul Saugus was a lifeguard at the Vesper Country Club in Tingsboro, and my older sister swears that she dated Paul. So talk about degrees of separation. I remember caddying at Vesper Country Club for Billy Sullivan and his children. I remember some of the caddying assignments, some notable Merrimack Valley people where all the caddies didn't want them because you would have to, if you had a double bag, they would have cases of beer in their bags, and we tried to move that around. Anyways, I was born in Lowell. My mom's 94, she followed me to California. I was trying to, last week, I said, "You remember where I was born?" And she's got early stage dementia. She lives in San Francisco. She says, "I think St. Joseph's." It wasn't Lowell General. So I was born in 1952. My father's dad was a cab driver in Lowell, who ended up owning the Yellow Cab Company in Lowell. And then my mom's dad was Thomas Joseph Burke. I actually have a picture of him in my office, and Betsy and I were going to bring it down. But he was the deputy fire chief in Lowell. He's the only, I think, Lowell fireman who ever had a firehouse named after him. It's in Pawtucketville. So, and if you want to go there, there's a plaque that says named after Thomas Joseph Burke, good Irishman. And my father's side of the family, I'm told, came down from Acadia, Nova Scotia to work in the mills. So I remember all the stories from the aunts and uncles about what it was like to work in the mills. I went to Chelmsford Public Schools. I went to Chelmsford High School for a year, and then I went away to a boarding school in Lenox, Massachusetts, started my education with the Jesuits. School is now a resort, Cranwell Prep School. So then went to Holy Cross. When I graduated from Holy, in my freshman year at Holy Cross, I had sort of a transformative moment. My dad represented the area in the Massachusetts House of Representatives. He was 26, he was in the 50s. Then he was elected to the state Senate in 32. And then he was appointed to the Superior Court bench when he was 36. Two of the three of those, and I can't remember which of the two at the time were state records for his age. I know it was the Superior Court judge, and he got appointed by Foster Ferkel. He was a prominent Republican, and I think there were more than 5 of them in those days in the state Senate. But I remember the Boston Globe criticizing him because he provided a vote for Governor Ferkel. This sounds like Boston politics, that allowed for 5 new judgeships, but I think there was some money for some transportation. Miraculously, my father received one of the appointments, which the Boston Globe thought was more than witnesses. I remember he wanted to run for Congress, and my recollection, I can't remember the woman who represented the area then, Brad Morse was selected to run for that seat when my dad was state senator. He used to like to say he represented his core constituency, the French Canadians. So I don't know if that still exists or not. I remember going to Burchette's for beans at that restaurant still. They famously only made beans. But when my dad, I was living with him at the time in my freshman year in college, and I was working at the Boston Juvenile Court. Pure coincidence that my father was a Superior Court judge, and I got a job at the Boston Juvenile Court during the summer. And I went back to the house in Charles River Park, the apartment. I was going to go to Cape Cod with a couple of buddies from Holy Cross. And my dad had already gone to the Cape, and the doorbell rang, and a reporter from the Boston Record American wanted to know where my father was. And I said, I don't know. So then there were a couple of phone calls from reporters, and then I remember Jack Gordon, who used to be with the NBC affiliate in Boston, called and asked where my dad was, and he asked who I was, and then he said, you know what happened to your dad? And he said, no, I'm getting all these reporters and running out the department. And he said, well, your dad was named in front of a congressional committee, joint congressional committee, into organized crimes and influence in the judiciary in the Northeast. And the New York judge was named by an informant as being organized crimes connection in New England and Massachusetts. And this informant, whose name is escaping me right now, suggested that my father accepted a bribe to get him a suspended sentence, and then went to Judge Breda, who was presiding in the case, to get a suspended sentence. But he ended up getting a suspended sentence. He was a small-time stocks swindler. But when that happened, then Congressman Tierney asked me if I would never imagine what it would be like to be followed by a Boston Globe spotlight team. I said, actually, I do remember, because when I was a freshman in college and living with my father in Charles River, those apartments in the West End, I'm told that the spotlight team followed me because I lived with my dad. So it was, he ended up resigning. Governor Sargent demanded his resignation. He was disbarred. Archibald Cox represented him through the hearing in front of the Bar Association, and it's sort of a tragic case. He lost his retirement because he wasn't there long enough, and it was transformative. My brother and I, who followed me in California, we often say, you know, if Dad hadn't done that, we probably would have stayed in New England. Who knows? I would be owning a restaurant on Merrimack Street, downtown Lowell, or something. So partially because of that, because of the experience at that point in my life, it was hard with an odd name in Boston. I remember using my credit card once in the Harvard Coup. The clerk said, "Oh, you related to the crooked judge?" And I'm like, "Oof." And she looked at me and said, "Oh, that's okay. They're all crooked." I remember looking at her and saying, "You know, that really isn't that helpful." But my dad went on and he rehabilitated himself. He got a master's degree from Rutgers. He became a consultant. He was the first, Billy Sullivan hired him to be the first substance abuse consultant for an NFL team. He was fired a year later because they hired a new coach. And I still have the Sports Illustrated article framed in my house in California that said, Coach Meyer, I think, he said, well, the reason I fired Mr. DeSaulnier was because he's a professional athlete and they don't have problems with drugs or alcohol. So that turned out not to be true, as we found out. So because of all that, I had my Jack Kerouac moment when I graduated from Holy Cross and drove to San Francisco to see what California was like. And I decided I didn't want to go home and shovel snow or have people ask me if I was related to somebody who had a problem with honesty. and state of California. I guess I'm sort of a classic California story. It's funny, Nikki and I, our relationship growing up all over the country, the world, but also coming from Northern California. So this is sort of simpatico for us. But I have a soft spot for Massachusetts. When you look at the innovation in our country right now, the two places where there's so much a part of the culture are the San Francisco Bay Area, which I've been very much a part of for the last, since I left Holy Cross. I was a city council member and I was the mayor of the city of Concord, California. It's a city of 135,000 people in the East Bay. That I was a county supervisor. I was appointed by a couple of governors to a couple of statewide boards, and served in both houses of legislature now. So you look at the Bay Area and look at Boston and Route 128 and all the remarkable similarities. When you look at where venture capital goes in the United States and where innovation is sort of, in a way, I've left home, in another way, I've stayed in a place that was very similar to the Merrimack Valley in Boston. And people ask me why I moved to San Francisco. I said, because rather than Los Angeles, where I spent some time, I had a brother who lived there, was because San Francisco reminded me of Boston and still does in many ways, without the Northeast. So that's nice. And so I'll leave it there. I'll leave one more anecdotal story. I'd be happy to answer any questions. But yesterday I was talking to Mike Gagliano. Turns out his father and my father were friends. So we were just talking on the floor and we started talking about Celtics games we were at, the day Bob Cousy retired, we were at that basketball game. And I said, I went to Cousy's basketball game. Mike looks at me and goes, I haven't told you. He goes, get out of here. No, really, I went there. He goes, I went there for 12 years. So it turns out we're in the House of Representatives floor, and the two of us from 3,000 miles away recognized that we went to summer camp together. Somewhere between 1958 and 1962. So Richie Neal walks over and goes, what are you two guys laughing about? So we tell him, he goes, what did Cap try to get in your boat? It's like, that's too unpleasant to even think of. So I'll leave it there. Happy to answer any questions, but it's really, I really appreciate Nikki asking me. I go back further regularly. One of the great things about Facebook is I have cousins and friends who I never would have heard from again, but in the past, but we keep up regularly from our years going to Center School and Chelmsford Middle School. So the world is an amazing place. So with that, I'll be happy to answer your question. I did ask everybody in the Massachusetts delegation after I saw the movie Spotlight if they had seen it. Quite a few of them said they didn't care to see it because of their relationship with Boston Globe. I don't know what that's all about. Was it Nikki?
Anybody have any questions?
Want to talk about the Warriors?
Comment on your first year as a member.
Oh,
Yeah.
the first year as a member. Well, I'd like to tell people my office is around the corner on this floor, and I was a history major at Holy Cross. I still like to read a lot. And I tell this story. I told a reporter of the East Bay Times, which is actually one of the funny things, another thing. It's the old Contra Costa Times, which is the newspaper where I'm from, in Contra Costa County, just east and north of Oakland, is owned by the same company that the World Sun is. So when you go to the World Sun and take a trip down memory lane, the format is exactly the same as the Bay Area News Group, which is the same. It's 80% of the newspapers in the Bay Area. Probably the only significant paper that isn't part of the Bay Area News Group is the San Francisco Chronicle. They're owned by the same papers. So anyways, I told this reporter, they asked me the same question. I said, well, put it this way, I walk out of the Cannon office building, when the ribbon cutting and the groundbreaking took place, Teddy Roosevelt stood out of the corner of the Library of Congress and gave his famous Muckraker speech. So I think about Teddy Roosevelt, stood right here and gave that famous speech, and I walk over to the Eastern Portico, and I look at the Eastern Portico, and until Reagan became president, that's where all the inaugurations took place. And I look there and I think, that's where Lincoln said, with malice towards none. That's where Jack Kennedy, when I was a kid, said, the torch has been passed to a new generation. That's where Franklin Roosevelt said, we have nothing to fear, fear ourselves. So I'm inspired, and I walk into the House of Representatives, and I go, oh my God, it's a mosh pit of all Hall of Fame schmoozers. And it's sort of this dichotomy of the history and everything that elevates this place. practical reality of 400, 535 political animals. So it's been an amazing experience. It's been a huge struggle. I just asked Eddie Hoyer if he remembered his first year, and it was interesting hearing his perspective. Nancy Pelosi's chief of staff, Robert, always likes to tell us, oh, you people from California always have trouble when you come back here. You think everybody's going to be as crazy as you people are and suggest crazy legislation. So it's also hard to be a member as a Democrat in the minority, having been in an area like the Bay Area in California, like Massachusetts, is predominantly blue. So it's been a humbling experience.
I was in the St. Louis last year, and when I was staying with water, all the hours in the district of water. How serious is it that you should really California?
Now, I'm so glad that I don't need a translator to understand Waddish. Capriano got up early on and gave this passionate speech about somebody we were going to. He said, "You got to vote with your hats." And I turned to Peter Welsh, who went from Vermont, who went all across the river. I turned to Peter as Michael was walking by. He goes, "What the hell is he talking about?" and Cap looked at me and grabbed me and said, "You know what it is. The watership story is a huge thing. My district runs along the coastline up to the San Joaquin Delta, so it's a very big issue for us. Governor Brown is quite insistent on doing a $15 million project that has been controversial in California for years. Mark Twain once said, for California, water was for fighting and whiskey was for drinking. So it's just a huge problem. But there were two stories in the New York Times op-ed piece in Sunday edition this past year about how California has responded to the drought. The people think that in California it's a north-south battle when it comes to water because the water storage and the snowpack in the Sierras creates 60 to 65% of the water from Southern California. If you ever read the book Chinatown or saw that movie, it describes a lot of this in gruesome detail. But it's really an east-west thing. So the San Joaquin Valley of California produces a third of all the fruits and vegetables in the United States, but it's always been heavily subsidized for water, not always in the most efficient way. So the drought has now a third of the agricultural industry is on more efficient water delivery systems because they've had to become more efficient. So oddly, those articles, and I would agree with them, it's forced California. We always make the analogy of California like Massachusetts. During the energy crisis, became much more efficient with its use of energy. Well, we use that analogy with water. If we were as efficient with water as we are with energy, we would be much more self-efficient. We wouldn't need the kind of infrastructure that the government's suggesting. So I actually think we're in pretty good shape, but because of climate change, I was on something called California Resources Board, and because of the U.S. Clean Air Act, it carves out California to go beyond U.S. EPA, and other states can follow us. And usually Vermont and Massachusetts follows whatever California does. But when we were looking at climate change 25 years ago, and our scientific panel was telling us about it, we're going to have to get used to, like everybody in the country, the new normal is these swings of El Nino and summer or winters. So it's a huge challenge for California, but I actually think we're responding very well to it. When I was in the legislature, I was in co-op bill that created $7.5 billion, and it was compromised between the Republicans and the Democrats, where we put about half of it into environmental restoration, protection, protecting underground aquifers. California was the only state with large resources in underground water that didn't regulate it. So if you had a contract for an aquifer, you were allowed to take as much as you want, which caused all kinds of environmental also not very good management of water resources. So all of those things, I think, are combined to the point where, because of climate change and what we know the impact will be on the Delta and the water storage system, has made us be much more efficient. So, we would like in the Bay Area for fewer people like me to move to the Bay Area because of housing costs and traffic. So earthquakes and water would like to say is really a big disaster, so people will move there.
So you mentioned you have huge innovation community there where you are. So have you been able to tap into that to help develop technologies right towards this water crisis? And most
Yes.
like T-well. I'm just curious if you've been able to shape that.
We do. But one of the things is the Bay Area, California has half of the venture capital in the United States for the last 2 years, and continuing this year is going up. A third of that goes to the Bay Area, which is about the state with almost population 40 million people. We have almost 8 million of the population. So, and most of that venture capital goes to a lot of things, but it particularly goes actually to renewables because we're a renewable portfolio standard. We require a third of all. I think Massachusetts has a similar requirement. So on water, it's sort of similar. San Diego is making a very large investment in a desalination plant. Santa Barbara has one, but they mothballed it because it didn't make economic sense when we have water resources. So there's a lot going on in the DCs as well. That's interesting. One of the things about the Bay Area, it'd be interesting to have this conversation. I'm trying to start an institute between Stanford and UC, I think we're going to do it, where they will study what it is about the Bay Area and its history, so we can understand why innovation happened here and how we can nurture it and keep it, which is similar for you, because we get people always come to the Bay Area, became friends with the head of the Moscow Duma, and the Russians are spending a lot of money in their own Silicon Valley. And he came twice. I went there and he asked me what's over dinner. He said, well, what do you think? And I didn't have time to tell him. For 2,000 years, you've been telling people not to take risks here. For 200 years, crazy people were coming to California and say, go ahead. I have a colleague who likes to describe the Bay Area in Eric's law as try, fail, try, fail, try, Google. So building that kind of culture where people just, and you have people willing to invest in people. So it'd be really fun to sort of work with you folks about it, because we do have a similar sort of cultural heritage.
Nikki has been enormously helpful to a hospital in her district, large general hospital that I believe is very similar to Contra Costa, only Contra Costa, the public hospital, we did away with all but one in Massachusetts. So we were wondering if the Medicaid waiver, which is being negotiated, and the Commonwealth of Massachusetts is about to release to CMS, is similar in some ways to the California Medicaid waiver. Can you tell us a little bit about how that benefits Contra Costa? How involved you've been?
Every Wednesday we have a delegation, a Democratic delegation, California delegation lunch in one of the rooms in the members' dining room. And I walked in late and Zola from San Jose said, Mark, you missed it. Nancy Pelosi's health expert was just in telling us how your county hospital is about to get disadvantaged. And Zoe and I were actually talking about this morning because Santa Clara has a public hospital as well. So if you're a fellow federally designated disproportionate share hospital, it's a huge challenge. In California, I chair the budget of Health and Human Services when the recession hit. I always argued with Governor Brown because we are now 48 in terms of our Medi-Cal payments, our Medicare payments. And I just talked with the director of our health plan yesterday, where they're in real danger there because they can't get providers as soon as the same problem. So we're losing Kaiser started at the East Bay, so it's half the population of the 3 million people who live in the East Bay are Kaiser. So we're losing all our county jobs to Kaiser because we can't pay them what Kaiser can pay. So it's a huge problem. It's sort of one of these things we have to deal with coast to coast on the ACA is for all its successes, it's hard to make money for people. You have to provide safety.
One more question.
I do.
And second of all, I'm a water character, I'm down as well, in Alberto, and Santa Cruz, and they're not allowed to drill any deeper than they are in the wells that are.
Yeah, I don't, but I think that was part of a colleague's bill that said you had to start monitoring all the groundwater, and you had to go through a permitting process. So we were having lots of geological problems, you can imagine, in a seismically active state with people pumping all the water out of these very large aquifers, not just the environmental damage and the poor management, but also the seismic. So I'm assuming that the State Water Resources Board probably put a regulation that just said, along with that legislation, that you can't do that. So we figure out what to do. Well, thank you all. Go America.